Welcome everyone to our third installment of Field Talks. Hope everyone had a great spring break and we're back at it today. And I'm pretty confident to say this is going to be the most anticipated Field Talks yet, even though we've only filmed 3, but because of the special guest that we have tonight, I'm really excited. So I want to be able to introduce my colleague, Mr. Scott Grant from the College of Business. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for having me. That's a pretty big introduction right there, guy.
Well, if people know how far this goes back, it is 16 years. We'll try to make sure we stay any college stories away, because what we want to talk about tonight is our Browns Heads partnership. The Browns Heads partnership is something that's very unique. Scott and I had the unique opportunity to have been involved with this from the inception about 2 or 3 years ago, and that's what we want to discuss tonight with you, Professor Grant. So thanks again for coming. And so I want to start off with just kind of for you to just go into a little bit of detail how this all started. So kind of take us back to that initial conversation of between the Browns, University of Findlay, how this all kind of got into place.
Yeah, so from the initial inception piece, we were lucky enough, we had an alum named Joanna Sabata who was currently working with the Browns in corporate partnerships. And she had sent us an email just to kind of reach back, say she was back in the area, came and talked, and discussions began. And it really evolved from sponsorship to marketing to how do we really integrate our kids into a sport business environment. And meetings after meetings after meetings, and it took about 6 to 10 months, I would say, to really start to flush out what was going to be really important for the University of Findlay and the Browns moving forward. The more that we got to know about their organization, the more it seemed like a really good fit. And our administration and board of trustees were phenomenal in getting involved and really saying, you know what, this is a great idea moving forward to create a unique partnership with a professional sports team to learn a lot of different environments, which I know we're going to talk about today.
So there's a lot of moving parts to this, obviously. One of them that most individuals and most students probably are aware of are the internship part. So let's kind of discuss that first. I feel like, and you and I both are involved with this, that there's a little bit of misconception about what even internships are available, what kind of students or majors can go after it. So since we were involved in the initial discussion, how's that evolved since kind of the beginning, and what even opportunities exist from an internship standpoint?
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot. I think it's tough because college evolves so fast to now where internships are integrated into almost every part of the curriculum. And even internships now have evolved into something different. Everybody's trying to build a story and build their value for corporations long term. So as part of the partnership, we have internship agreements where our kids can apply and become part of that organization. And that's what everybody kind of sees on the front end. They can work in special events internship. We have a student there in corporate partnerships. We had a student there in video services. So there are a lot of different aspects from that. But the thing that we want students to understand, and we're continually trying to educate, is there's tons of one-off opportunities for kids to build relationships. At the end of the day, all of these things and internships and one-day opportunities for them to go work draft day parties or do a project that is focused on ticket sales or whatever that might be, they're building relationships, they're adding value to their lives, to the organization that UF is, as well as the Browns, and really creating their own opportunities of what that looks like for them moving forward. So the internship piece is always one because it's a longer period of time where they're actually in Cleveland, whether it's at the stadium or working the training camp. So that's one everybody kind of knows about and focuses on, but there's tons of other opportunities internally where kids can get involved.
So let's talk about those other opportunities, because again, the internship side kind of gets the most, publicity, if you want to look at it that way. But, you and I both know sometimes those other opportunities may provide more impactfulness from a student's perspective because of their involvement and what they can kind of see. So what are the things of our students, what have they done, I guess, with the Browns that maybe aren't, or they're not officially an internship?
Yeah, so, and again, with the internship piece, sometimes that doesn't fit into kids' lives at that current moment.
Absolutely.
So there are opportunities. So, we were afforded the opportunity to help with a Wi-Fi integration. They put in a Wi-Fi in their entire stadium, and our kids went up and they did audits, and a couple students, spent time doing Dog Pound Drive, which is their marketing activation on the front end, and they would go and help set up, run it, cleanup. We have kids who go and work the draft day parties. Those are coming up actually, and we'll have probably about 25 students work in different capacities. There's a VIP draft day party, and then there's also like an open public draft day party. There's Fan Fest that they have in Cleveland, and they want kids to come up and help. And we just had a meeting last week on how we're going to expand this further into different areas within their organization. And there's just, everybody needs help. It's just really trying to iron out and what that looks like for the organization, for the kids, and how we can kind of match students that are interested in different types of environments. And we want to make sure kids know if you're a PR major, you can still go and work in a ticket sales component. If you are a sport and event management major, you can go and work in a marketing component. If you are a marketing major, you can go, the major doesn't confine this, and that's what the whole partnership was about, is how do we really infiltrate the entire college. And you know, we just finished year one. Like it feels like we've been doing this for a long time, but this is just year one, and we have a lot of growth that is going to continue to come that we're really, really excited about, and hopefully it will continue to extend throughout the college community.
And I remember being in conversations where a lot about the Browns partners were one of the bigger issues that we were looking at as a benefit from us. So in the conversations that you've had and what we feel like moving forward as the next step with this partnership, what do you see as that next step or that next opportunity that we might be able to tap into?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal of any student or any organization is to partner with a university or to partner with any individual, that individual to do such a great job that they tell other people about it. You know, the Browns, we worked their events. We had 40 kids go up and work the Ford Motors activation at one of their starting points before the game began. And from there, other partners like, wow, we didn't even know you had this. And the relationships are starting to build, and companies are saying, you know, we have these opportunities. You work in internships and career placement. The number one thing people struggle with is hiring quality candidates. If we can help streamline that process and truly increase engagement with our students, because we know we have phenomenal students, that's a win-win for everybody involved.
Absolutely. Talent acquisition is a hot topic, not just from a university standpoint, from a business, from small to large. And you know, we feel like, I know you and I have talked multiple times, any way we can get our students exposed to that is obviously a plus for us.
Yeah, and I was just on the phone with two of the gentlemen who work for the Browns right before I came here, and their ultimate goal is we want to find diamonds in the rough, and we want to find them early, and we want to help, you know, build them to do great things. And it doesn't mean that every kid's going to go work for the Browns.
Absolutely.
We don't necessarily want that, and they don't either. We want to help them understand what is sport business, what does that look like from, I know Smuckers is one of their big partners, right? They have a sport marketing arm. There's a lot of different companies that they work with on a daily basis who work through the medium of sports, and that's really a huge exciting component of all of this.
And I think that's the biggest misconception that I've been a part of. Obviously, you see the Browns, NFL, it's sports, but at the end of the day, it's business, just like everything else. It just happens to be one of the most powerful marketing tools, or a marketing shield, if you want to look at it that way, that might be available in the business market at this point. But, I mean, at the end of the day, any chance a student gets to be involved in exposure, you know, that's why the university's, you know, bought in with the experiential learning, and that's what this is all about. So
yeah, I mean, it's a massive corporation, and people forget that. You know, there's a business side, there's a football side, and yeah, they intermix, but at the end of the day, that is a massive business, and they're generating revenue and doing all the things that massive organizations do. Often people forget about that side because they only see the game, and that's what they think of.
And it's always funny to me when we talk to them, how much the people that are on the business side either not huge football fans in general, and let alone not a Browns fan in general. Obviously, they want them to succeed. But, you know, Anthony, our, you know, activation manager, he's a big soccer fan. So it's always kind of fun from my standpoint, being that, you know, I come from being involved with football a lot. And when we've taken tours there, my interest has been at a different level than most. But it's been a lot of fun. So,
and I get it, because I know nothing about football.
I know you don't.
Right. So I grew up in a high school without football. So for me, when I walk in there, like, I see the business side. I don't see the football.
Yeah, I get a little excited when I walk in there, but, you know, different ends of the spectrum. So from your standpoint and what you're doing every day in the College of Business, what's been the most enjoyable part about being involved with this partnership?
You know, I think for me is the Browns are really invested into helping build students. You know, they come to campus. The meeting I just had, he said, anytime you want boots on ground, we're willing to come.
Nice.
And they really want to be involved in changing the way that education continues to develop students for professional careers. And that's really, I just love that piece, and I love it from every angle. When we have alums go and get a job and come back and speak to our classes, that's the best thing that can happen. And when you have a person like Anthony or Josh Young in ticket sales, and those people who have been in the sports industry for a long time who are willing to come back, and Corey Kinder, all those guys, they're incredible because they want to help students get to a different level, and they remember being in those seats. And for me, when I'm on the side and watching all of that take place, that's the best thing that can ever absolutely happen as a teacher.
So on the other side, what's been the most challenging part from your standpoint?
I think there's just so many moving parts to both organizations. We deal specifically with a person at the Browns, and they deal with a lot of different moving components. And when you have a partnership, there's so many pieces that intertwine that sometimes it takes a little bit longer to have meetings and conversations and get things done. You always, and I think that's anything that you're going to do, any type of business component, you wish it could go a little bit faster, but we've moved really, really quickly in a year. So I'm really excited about the next years moving forward.
No, absolutely, I agree. And being involved with higher education like we have for the short amount of time, it's been refreshing to see how quickly we've moved on something like this that's been unique, something different, something that allows our students to differentiate themselves from everyone else. So,
well, and I've loved being able to go to conferences. I was just in Oregon at a national sports forum where a guy from the Baltimore Ravens came up and he said, "Oh, that's so awesome that you guys do that. How can we do it?" And at the end of the day, the University of Findlay was extremely progressive in pushing forward to this. I don't think there's a lot of institutions who would be willing to, or just be able to make that happen. And I'm proud of that as an alum, as a current professor, that they took the initiative to continue to push forward and say, this is in the best interest of our kids, aligns with our missions and our values, and we're gonna go full steam ahead. And that's awesome, because I don't think that's prevalent at a lot of places.
I would agree 100%. So last question, when students are looking at this or looking at the Browns internship opportunities, the partnership, hopefully watching something like this on YouTube that's available to them, what piece of advice would you give them if wherever they're at, freshman, sophomore, junior, somewhere, somehow, and they have some interest in doing something with the Browns or something with sports or something in the College of Business or whatever it may be, what would you tell them to do if they're interested in this?
You just got to try it out. There's going to be an opportunity to do the FanFest thing, like go sign up. Even if you're not sure if you're going to be able to make the internship fly, apply for it. Go through the process, learn more, build some relationships. When we have the Brown Summit in the fall, go to it. Just take it all in so you start to know, is this an environment that I think I want to work in?
Absolutely.
Because I don't think there's enough students. I think it's moving, that way, specifically in a large part to your guys' office. But truly getting in there and saying, you know what, I want to work in this sector because I've taken part in these different things and I love it so much. And it's even great to say, hey, I did this and you know what, this isn't for me. That's a success too. But at the end of the day, it's all about building relationships.
Sure.
And if you can build relationships with people who want to give back, but also work in a massive business corporation with a strong brand recognition, that's going to be beneficial whether you decide to move into a different corporate setting or you go out on your own or whatever that might be.
Absolutely.
I think just don't be hesitant to apply or to come to an event or shoot me an email and come talk about it.
Yeah.
There's tons of opportunities to get in contact and really learn more about it.
And it doesn't hurt to have something from the Browns be on a resume either.
Not at all. I mean, we had an alum who, Jenna Jesko, she worked there last summer. She graduated, wanted to work at Walt Disney World. She knew exactly what she wanted to do, but the internship that she had with the Browns was something that when she graduated, she was able to talk about more, and it was an experience, and she did events, and now she's working at Walt Disney World for ESPN doing event management. And
Absolutely.
It's great because those skills that she's learning can go across all kinds of different business spectrum, and even for other people, education majors, PR majors, whatever that might be. They're just looking for the best people and the hardest working people that they can find.
And they'll teach you how to do what they want you to do.
You got it.
Speaking of Jenna, you didn't wear your ears.
What's that?
You didn't wear your ears.
I know. Jenna Jesko, I apologize. You didn't wear yours either.
I know. I actually saw it in my office on the way out, and I
Okay.
thought to myself, I should put these on just to give her a quick shout out.
I'm going to blame that on Phil then, Jenna. So
I'll take the blame. Anything else you want to share from your side? Or
no, I mean, I think continue to check your emails, look at the Browns Edge website. There's going to be a lot of cool things coming. It's an exciting part. And again, just take part in something. You know, add something valuable, build some relationships, get out there, do something. Even if it's not the Browns Edge piece, do something.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, always a pleasure, my man.
Always. So we're going to take a little break. Please remember that you can tweet at us using the hashtag UFTV or UF internships if you guys have questions. We'll hopefully be able to answer those. And coming up after our little break, we'll have a couple students here that'll be able to talk about their specific experiences, answer it from a student perspective as well. And we'll take a little break and be right back.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Welcome back, everyone, to Field Talks, where we're talking about the Browns Edge partnership with the University of Findlay. We just had Professor Scott Grant on to talk about the university's perspective from the faculty side and all the ins and outs of what's available for the Browns. And with us now are 2 students that have had the ability to be able to experience the Browns partnership, but then also have some insights regarding the internship, but then also how it looks from a student's perspective. So thanks, guys, for coming in. Really appreciate it. So we're going to have a chance to introduce yourself. So Haley, you can start. Just give a little information about yourself, your major, when you're graduating, all that good stuff.
Okay. I'm Haley Gray. I'm a senior here at the University of Findlay, and I play golf. I'm graduating this spring, and I was a Browns summer intern this past summer.
Thank you. Jake?
And I'm Jake Miller, 5th-year senior. Also graduating this spring. April 30th is the day, and I'm counting it down.
Uh-oh. Right around the corner.
Yeah, it is. It's coming up fast.
Yeah.
And I also, like Haley, was part of the Browns Edge partnership.
Sure.
Internship for the summer of 2015.
Awesome. So I want you guys to both, kind of give your perspective about what you did, give a little bit of insight, and again, thinking about students that might be watching this and thinking, do I want to do something like this in the future? So tell us about what you did, the experience itself, all the ins and outs. So we'll start with you.
Right. So technically, I was I was an event intern. So we saw training camp through from the beginning to the end. So from everything from moving bleachers into the facility for fans to helping sign autographs with fans and players, just player-fan engagement, fan engagement, all the ins and outs. And it was also a good mix of corporate and an event side. So we were outside and we were inside sometimes. So it was a really good mix of things.
Nice. And I know, Jake, your experience was a little bit different even though you were there at the same time. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So where you guys started just before training camp, I actually started in May and was with the videography department. And I got excellent hands-on experience in the 2 different worlds of videography, I would say. We did 2 television shows every week that we produced. And then we would film practice and do like community events. We had a blood drive that we filmed, and then we would edit all those pieces together, put them out on the Browns website and the YouTube channel, and completely manage all of the content that they had as far as video production.
Sure. So you guys were involved kind of from the beginning of this partnership when it was announced about a year ago, right? It was around St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. So you were involved from the beginning. So kind of talk about that evolution of how it was kind of brought to your attention, how, I know, Jake, your story is a little different, how you're going for an interview, then interview with someone else and kind of got thrown into something. Again, all great experiences, I know, but, talk about that experience of going up there at that initial, announcement and then obviously being able to have the opportunity to intern with them and how that all progressed.
Okay, right. So when I found out about the partnership, I was excited just for the sheer fact that the university was going to be linked with the Browns.
Absolutely.
And that looks good. Marketing, that looks good for students to come to our school. But I was really excited when I heard about the internships that were going to be available. And my major was sports and event and marketing, so that actually perfectly fit. It ended up, it doesn't really matter what your major is, but so we interviewed. We put in our applications on campus, then we interviewed on campus, and then if you were selected from that group, you moved on to interview with the Browns. So that was kind of a whirlwind. It was at the very beginning of the partnership, and everything was kind of being sped along, but it was really fun, really exciting.
Yeah. So Jake, talk a little bit about your experience too.
Well, I mean, I found out about the partnership because of how closely I worked with the marketing videographers that we have here.
Sure.
So they had me watch the teaser video that they put together, and then I was actually contacted by marketing. The Browns wanted a group of students to put together the video that would release on the day that the partnership was announced. So I got to work on the ground level there. And then, like Haley, go through the interview process and through the panel interviews that we had here at the university, the interview training session day that we had up in Cleveland. And then ultimately go through the interview process there, where I was scheduled to interview for what I thought would be what Haley was doing. And then as I arrived there, they threw me into an interview with someone completely different. But I mean, it ended up working out perfectly for me, and that interview got me the internship in the videography department.
I think I
so.
distinctly remember you getting back in the van that I had the privilege of driving you guys to, and getting back in, and your first comment was, well, that wasn't expected.
Well, you mean you go up there,
Yeah.
I was prepped and ready for an interview like Haley was going to have, and then I got
sit down
thrown
and
into
serious.
a completely different environment with completely different people, and
Sure.
there was information that we were told we should know, and that stuff became irrelevant. Other stuff came relevant, so I mean, for me, that was a huge learning tool that I
Sure.
wasn't expecting, but I had to think on my feet for that interview, and I think ultimately it made me a better interviewee.
Sure, and I think for all of the students that came with us that day, and from my perspective as well, we kind of crammed what should have been more like what we're doing now of 12-month process. We crammed it into what, about 2 months, if that?
Yeah.
If that, yeah.
So there was a lot of things that we were unsure about, that the Browns were unsure about. All we knew was we needed, some students to get in front of them. So you guys handled it really well, and obviously it worked out for you. So obviously you benefited from the internship. What other things have you done with the Browns besides that summer internship that might have given you some perspective about what it is that you want to do about the Browns organization in general?
I actually worked the draft day party that was before. It was actually the very, very beginning
Yep.
of this process. So I hadn't interviewed for anything yet, but we had to give a little interview at Finley to go work draft day. So that was insane. Like it was like we were thrown right into events, and we saw they actually make their inside practice facility like more of a banquet hall. So we saw that from the beginning to the end. So that was cool, and that was a really good experience to get my feet wet, shake some hands,
Sure.
meet some people. But other than that, coming back, we came back for a couple game days. One we were honored through Finley and got to be on the field. So that's been really fun. And then just the relationships that you formed up there. I'm friends with some of the interns. I talk to them weekly. And then some of our supervisors, I talk to them weekly.
Sure.
And I formed a really good relationship with the VP of Corporate Partners, like of all people. So it's just really important to always like shake the hands and
Sure.
get your name out there and things like that.
So Scott mentioned earlier, or Professor Grant, sorry, but he mentioned that the draft day party was something that's coming up. So from your perspective, since you were involved with it, what would you recommend to students that think that might be something they're interested in, or should they go after it?
Right. We'll definitely contact Scott, Mr. Grant. He has all the ins and outs of it, and 100% I would recommend it, because if you can put a name to the face before you even step into the interview, like that's huge.
Sure. So Jake, with you, obviously you did the video internship, so completely different than what you were even expecting and what Haley's done. So talk about your experience, how it relates to what you want to do, something that you've taken from that, and other things that you've been involved with the Browns since then.
Well, for me, I work with the UFTV station that we have on campus,
Yep.
and I do videography on my own freelance. I have my own outdoor videography company.
Sure.
So I knew that videography, some sort of visual content development is what I wanted to work in. And the internship, I mean, there's only so much that you can learn in a classroom, and that's not to knock any professor.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, they're only given a limited amount of time with you every so often, every couple of days a week for a semester. And they cover as much as they can, but nothing can match the real world experience that you get in an internship like this, whether it's with the Browns or with somebody else. And I think that the biggest thing that I took away from it, for me personally, it solidified my understanding that videography is where I want to be in my career. But as Haley mentioned, those are relationships that at the Browns, I would say, you open that door and it stays open for as long as you want it to. The guys that I worked with up there still talk to me regularly, as often as they can. And they're always constantly helping me, even with questions that I have about schoolwork that I have. And so actually within the videography department, that was a door that opened to a potential job. I could have stayed there and had a job if I wanted, but I figured for me at this point in my life, coming back and finishing school and getting that degree was something I needed to take care of.
Good choice.
But I think that just goes to show how passionate the Browns are
Sure.
and the university is about this partnership and what it can actually lead to for students.
And being in those initial conversations, that was really the attractive piece of doing this was, they were looking at better ways to recruit students and recruit. Obviously, from our standpoint, the marketing piece was a big deal, but the individuals that we kept interacting with, they kept talking about that, and student development kept coming up and being able to open up opportunities. So I'm really glad that you guys had a chance to do it. I'm really glad that it worked out well. So talk about favorite part of your summer internship. What was it?
For me, it was honestly the experiential learning. I guess if I had to pick one thing, it partners really well with the University of Findlay business program because they are all about experiential learning, which is so helpful. Like Jake said, like things that you can do outside of the classroom, really throwing yourself into it. It teaches you a heck of a lot. And but my favorite story was one day at training camp. So we work like fan-player interactions and engagements and things like that. So a little boy with Down syndrome came through the door, and he was last year on the field. And so he was like asking me if he could get on the field, and we weren't running that program anymore. And I actually got, I took my family and friends passes that day and gave them to him. And then we're walking to the tent, and he's like, I just want to meet Johnny Manziel. I just want to meet Johnny Manziel. And I'm like, buddy, like, I'm not sure about that. Like, I don't know if I can pull that kind of weight. But actually, after training camp that day, I was on the field. I happened to be with Johnny, and I said, hey, like, there's this little boy over here. He would just die to meet you. And he's like, of course. So little Antonio got to meet Johnny that day, and that was absolutely my favorite part of the entire experience. And it had nothing to do with my major or what I was supposed to be doing there. So
That's the first positive Johnny Manziel story ever in the history of.
Hey, well, it carries a lot of weight, doesn't it?
I'm just saying. Jake, what about you? I've heard a lot of different things that you got exposure to and a lot of different guys that you had a chance to meet. So tell us a good story.
Well, I mean, I think that you start, for me, I would start with day one when being here working with the university, taking the knowledge and skills that I had. Day one, I expected to be sat in a room and go through procedures and protocols, and instead, within the first 15 minutes, they gave me a $50,000 camera, said, put on your shoulder, let's go interview Johnny Manziel. So like that's something that I walked in and did it, but it took me weeks to process that.
Sure.
Just to go through how fast they put me in to a real world scenario. I think that's how the whole internship was for me.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same every time we go up there and every time I've visited, how you see it on TV, you see all that stuff, and it seems so far away or so just not, at our level. But then you go and it seems just so natural.
Right.
Like I remember when we were doing the interview and Jim Brown walked through the front door and I'm sitting 10 feet from him, like, are you serious? That's Jim Brown. And everyone was like, who's Jim Brown? And I'm like, no. But
After you're there for, the 3 months in the summer, though, they're just colleagues.
yeah, that's what
Really.
you get
And so-
almost like it's awesome.
I thought I was going to be starstruck, but when you're working with them every day, it's not. You're not. You can't be,
Sure.
actually. To be focused on your job, you can't be starstruck. so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for coming in. So what are you doing this summer? I know both of you are graduating, so it's kind of down to the wire here. So what are your plans for the summer?
I'm actually going to stay in Findlay for the summer. I've got a job in marketing with Marathon Petroleum at headquarters downtown.
Awesome. Congratulations. Jake?
I'm going to be moving to the east side of the state,
Okay.
Akron, Kent area,
Okay.
Mogador, Ohio.
Yeah.
There's a company called 10 Point Crossbows. They're the leading manufacturer of crossbows in the world,
Wow.
and I'm going to be starting their content production department.
No kidding.
So really nothing to do with the Browns.
Hey.
Either one of us.
No,
But that's okay. But
They just
Experience
opened
from
so
the
many
Browns.
doors. Like
Absolutely.
having the Browns on our resume, we could
Yep.
walk in anywhere and they'd be like, "Oh, really?"
And I think that's a good conversation starter regardless.
Yeah.
So I talk about that constantly with students. You just got to keep putting good stuff on your resume that sparks a conversation, and the next thing you know, you got them hooked, and that interview becomes way easier at that point.
Yeah,
So,
it's not just about the sport. It's not about sports. It's not about the Browns. It's about like getting your name out there and
The
working hard.
experience.
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thanks, guys.
No problem.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Proud of
Having
both of
us.
you, and you did a really good job of representing the University of Findlay for our first group of students to go. So you did a great job, and you did a great job representing us. So
Thank you.
thanks for
Thank
that.
you. Thanks.
So we're going to take a break again, and we're going to bring two students on that are on the younger side of things, that aren't worrying about graduation in a couple weeks, but they're also been involved with the Browns internship, and the Browns program are going to be doing summer internships coming up this summer. So we're going to take a break and be right back.
So they say it's a man's world? Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Welcome back, everyone, to Field Talks, where we're having conversations about the Browns Edge Partnership. We've had the privilege of talking to a couple students, took a break, and now we're back with two more students who will be able to give a different perspective, being that they're on the earlier stages of their college career and being able to take advantage of what the Browns internship has to offer. So thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you.
So we'll be able to introduce yourself. So we'll start with you, Delaney.
Well, I'm Delaney Haas. I'm from Lima, Ohio. I am a marketing and accounting double major with a minor in sport business. And I was lucky enough to be able to work with the Browns over this past season, doing some game day opportunities.
Awesome. Adam?
And my name's Adam Twining. I'm a sophomore here at the university. Born and raised in Findlay, and I was also lucky enough to be a part of the game day operations with Delaney this past season.
So you guys have had the opportunity to been exposed to the Browns. Obviously you're both early on in the process. So, I have to ask. I know Delaney, the answer to yours, but with the Browns partnership, did that have anything to do with you guys choosing Findlay?
It not necessarily in the
Okay.
beginning stages. So at first, I came actually as a post-secondary student. I did post-secondary options my entire senior year. Actually, I consider that my freshman year because I went here full-time. And then in the middle of that, the partnership came out, and it just kind of solidified that I'm going to come here and I'm going to continue my education here.
Nice. Adam?
Being born and raised in Findlay, my grandma worked here, my mom worked here, and it just kind of made the most sense to me to go here. I actually was a nursing major.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a nursing major actually at the beginning of this year. And
Really?
so my life has kind of totally changed, and I got to give a little credit to Professor Grant.
Okay.
I sat down with him, and we just kind of went over what my different options were because I wasn't happy as a nursing major, and I would say that this partnership was a big part of me making the switch to marketing and sport and event management.
Fantastic. So, again, both of you have had experience with the Browns, maybe on not the internship official side, but both of you are going to be experiencing that very soon. So, talk a little bit about your personal experience with the Browns, where you've been, and now where it's going to be taking you in the next couple months.
So my experience started in early fall when I decided, I actually had a project in one of my classes where we could pick any company that we chose and really get in and learn about the marketing and the finances behind it. And I ended up choosing the Browns. I reached out to Anthony Cangalosi, who at this time I did not know. And he actually invited me up to do a game day audit. And so I went up for the Broncos game, which was an amazing experience. It really opened so many doors because I ended up being able to do the Wi-Fi / operations side of things. I was actually what you could call the lead intern. So I, on top of working with people like Adam on Dog Pound Drive, which is like the activation side of special events, I actually got to help manage about 9 other interns that were working on the Wi-Fi integration side. And it taught me so much about, organization skills, management skills, and, it really helped me want to be into the professional sporting industry. I decided this is what I want to do, and now I have the opportunity to be with them this summer, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Good. Adam?
So when the Browns put in the Wi-Fi in their stadium, they asked a couple of students to help, get fans, be user-friendly for the fans, get them comfortable, however they need help. So that's where it started with me, and I went that first week and found out, Delaney was kind of that lead person. And I heard what they were doing with the Dog Pound Drive, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to do that.
Sure.
So I was like, hey, Delaney, do you need somebody next week?
And
She said, there's somebody that's not going to be able to come. I'll let you know. And I was like, do it. Like, I want to do it. So I actually ran into her on campus later that week, and she said, we need somebody. Do you want to do that? And I was like, heck yeah. Like, let me help out. And so I did that, and I loved it. And the rest of the season, I was up there on game days helping out with Dog Pound Drive.
Sure. Well, that's exciting.
And he was awesome. It was pretty much one of those things where he came, he killed it.
Sure.
And it was just like, we got to keep you on here.
Perfect.
Sorry, you couldn't go back to Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
Well, good. So talk about, obviously, you're already have had experience. So what was the favorite part about what you've done, or any kind of good stories to share?
So, I loved being able to talk to so many Browns individuals. And, it's really opened my eyes on so many opportunities. Because, I didn't realize that, there was a corporate partnership activation side and just a plain corporate partnership. And, there's just so many things that I really got to see when I was doing game day. And I loved being able to really interact with them and to help make something like Dog Pound Drive a success.
Sure.
And my favorite story, it was actually one of the things that you learn when you're with the Browns and when you're running an event is that things might not go as planned. And so I think this was the game against the 49ers. We have a Christmas tree. It's a Christmas party. And we put it like 5 feet off, and it didn't look right. And so one of our supervisors, Megan, she said, can you move it 5 feet, even though it's already all assembled and everything? And so we're moving it, and then all of a sudden one of the legs break off. Oh, no. And so we have a 3-legged tree that won't stand up. And I don't know, how long did we work on that? Half an hour?
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was too long.
It was cold.
We were tying like weights to it and
Sure.
then duct taping, and it was horrible, but it ended up working out. And it really just goes to show that you have to, it's game day, it's
Sure.
showtime. You have
Yeah.
to make sure that you're giving your 100% to make it happen.
A Christmas tree story. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you very much. What about you, Adam?
Picking a favorite part's tough. I mean, the best thing I guess to talk about is just how unique this opportunity is. I don't think people understand how lucky we are to have a partnership like we do, because there's really nothing really like it. And for a smaller school, like, that's awesome to be a part and have a partnership with the Cleveland Browns, and that kind of helps us stand out. It's going to bring more students to Findlay, and I mean, we're just going to grow from there. So being a part of that is something that's awesome. A funny story. I mean, you just learn so much while you're there, and I don't know how many times we set stuff up, and then they looked at the map and they realized that something needed to be switched. Well, that's just part of it. That's something that's, it's fun because you get to learn so much. You learn that if something just is slightly off, that's got to be fixed.
Sure.
And as a fan, you don't see that.
Yeah, exactly.
People who go to Dog Pound Drive, they don't see the setup from 7 o'clock until 9:30 when we have to be show ready.
Yep.
That we've moved stuff 5 times.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool to be a part of that, and it's a fun story to tell.
And our day started before then. It started at like 3 a.m., start driving at 4,
Sure.
get McDonald's, and then
Absolutely.
start.
Well, that's the stuff that I think you learn the most from, honestly. Like Jake kind of said, there's only so much you can learn from a textbook and from a professor just because of limited time. So being able to do this, I would assume it's probably been really learning and a great learning opportunity for you guys. Would you agree?
Without a doubt.
Good.
Without a doubt.
So along with that, what was the most challenging part so far, or something that you didn't really expect, other than the obvious of just the fact of doing it? But
Something that I really did think was a challenge was, I guess I didn't go in with a ton of knowledge about what goes into an event and all that, because I am younger, and this is technically my first year. And I really thought it was a challenge at first trying to get 17 people all on the same page in total, but with all of the interns, and then to make sure that they were, doing the right thing, because ultimately, it's the university and it's the Browns, and you don't want to do anything to hinder that. And so it was just, really making sure that everyone was getting on the same page, but, it all paid off, and it all was worth it when, the first dog pound drive happened, which you weren't there for. It was kind of, winds were blowing away tents.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of crazy. But to know that it worked out and that, Megan and Nate, the supervisors at that time, and Brandon and Anthony, who were inside the stadium, they were very pleased with what had happened. And that, for me, was so fulfilling.
nice. Adam?
Face a lot of challenges on game days. I guess the biggest thing we had to overcome was doing that grunt work with a big smile on your face. Nobody knew we woke up at 3 o'clock to start driving at 4 o'clock.
Nor did anyone probably care, to be honest.
Nobody, and that's the thing, is
Yeah.
nobody cares. And frankly, they don't care. The Browns don't care, because they want us to be there on time, ready to go. And you can't make excuses. And that's one thing you just have to overcome, is you have to do that grunt work with a big old smile on your face. And at the end of the day, when you're sitting in the executive offices eating lunch, and you're walking by the president in the hallway, and you're seeing all these guys in suits with the Browns pins. Yeah, it's like, you know what? We help them out, but this is cool. Like, that's where you can kind of just let it sink in.
Sure.
I'm sitting in the executive offices. I'm at a Browns game. I'm eating good food.
Sure.
I'm tired, but it was fun. It was a fun day.
Well, I can assure you guys are doing good things, and not just you, all the students, because we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and the first thing that was brought up is individuals in the Browns that don't know about the partnership or don't understand what the University of Findlay is. They're asking questions, and when it comes to these volunteer things, Baldwin Wallace is right there next door, and they're asking, how do we get more Findlay kids involved? So what you guys are doing is fantastic. So keep doing it, and keep representing the university and this whole entire operation at a high level. So you guys are doing really, really good work. So what's your plans for the summer? I know both of you kind of confirmed and been asked to come back, so talk about that and tell us what your plans are.
So for summer, I'm actually an admissions ambassador for the university. So for the first half, I will be working and giving tours to prospective students and their families, which I love.
Sure.
And then it's starting in July. I'll
Yep.
be up there working with the Browns, and that will run until September 1st-ish.
Nice.
And so then back to the grind of school.
You'll be doing what Haley did, right?
Yeah,
Good,
definitely doing the training camp.
good. And Adam, same? Or?
Yeah, same thing with the Browns training camp. Really trying to find something for the first part of that summer. The ideal summer internship runs from the end of
Yeah.
school till school starts.
Yeah.
So with that only being the last couple months, month or so, I really want to find something to add to the beginning of my summer, just to maximize my experiences.
Sure.
You can't have enough
Yep.
experience, I don't believe. So it's really just trying to figure that out. You could ask me tomorrow, and I'll tell you something different from what I would tell you today.
Yeah, you might get a call back from that contact I sent. You
Exactly.
never know. You never know.
So, it's fun.
Yep.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Absolutely.
But, it's cool.
Good. So what piece of advice, final thing, when students are watching this, again, maybe a sophomore or a freshman or someone that might be interested, what do you tell them about this partnership and whether or not they should, pursue it?
Especially for the one-off opportunities and the game day opportunities, you don't have to know a lot about football. You don't have to know the players or, you have this football knowledge, because ultimately you don't need that. It's about business, and it's about how things and events of this caliber work, because, something that blew my mind, there's over 3,000 employees that work here game day for the Browns. And so I just always want to advise people, just do an opportunity. It's a great talking point. Regardless if it has to do particularly with your major, you're going to gain skills like maybe leadership skills, organizational skills, time management skills that can really help you in the future.
Sure. Well said.
Well,
What about you, Adam? Piece of advice.
some advice, just don't be afraid to ask questions and reach out to people. I mean, everybody here at Findlay and everybody at the Browns, they want to help out. They want you to be successful. And you just talked to the two students before this. They're not even going back to the Browns after this. But I guarantee that if they, in 5 years down the road, they called the Browns or they called you or Professor Grant, you guys are going to help them out because you guys want to help out. And so when you have these opportunities, available to you and you're not sure about it, go to your offices and just ask questions.
Sure.
And you guys would love to sit down and answer questions. That's just the type of people you are.
Yeah.
And if you guys can't answer the question, well, you're going to get on the phone with somebody in Cleveland
Yeah.
and find an answer to that for us. And that's something that people need to take advantage of because of this opportunity.
Sure. Well, again, thanks for what you guys have done. Good luck with what you're about to do. Maybe we'll bring you back in the fall and talk about your experiences, over the summer. You can tell some good, well, maybe not Johnny Manziel stories, but a good story or two. But again, thanks for coming. I appreciate it, and good luck. So
Thank you.
that's all we have tonight, talking about the Browns-Eds partnership. Again, if you guys or anyone that's watching have questions, feel free to stop by my office, which is in the Office of Internships and Placement in Old Main. Feel free to contact any of the individuals that you saw talk about anything tonight. And in general, my piece of advice to go along with them is if, sounds like something you're interested in, I would go ahead and start asking questions and go for it because you never know what door it could open, right?
Definitely.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for coming and viewing, and thanks again for being part of this, and have a good evening.